Hello, this is going to be an overview video on all the different formulas, functions, and tools that I'm going to show in my Google Sheets tutorial guide. Please note that if you watch this video and you see a formula, function, or tool that I show in the overview video, I'm going to create a separate video that focuses specifically on it and breaks it down step by step so that you can replicate it on your own. The other thing I kind of want to give a disclaimer about is that this is an example that I created, and it's not meant to be replicated. I did not create this so that people would make grade books. I just did a mock grade book to showcase the things that you can do with Google Sheets or Excel. And that's another thing. Anything that you kind of do in Google Sheets, you can do in Excel as well. So this is helpful for anyone who wants to use Excel or Google and analyze their data. So with that, I'm going to now go over the different tools, functions, and formulas that I have showcased here in this demo Google Sheet and walk you through everything I want to show in my tutorial guide. So the first thing I want to show is you're going to notice that these top 4 rows are frozen. So that means if I grab this bar and go up and down, I don't lose what's on these top 4 bars. That's a real powerful tool if you're wanting to look at a lot of data and not lose a bar that you need to understand what that row or column is about. Same thing on the left here. The first 3 columns that you can see here, they're frozen. So this is something you can do in Google Sheets and in Excel. Now the next thing I want to show is called conditional formatting, which you can also do in Google Sheets and in Excel. And that's basically set criteria for your cell to have a color coding to it. So you can use that for numbers, and you can also use that for words. So you notice right now 90 is green. That's because I set the criteria to be green if with 90 and above. If I go to 80, it should turn orange. Because I set that criteria. If I go to something below 70, like a 68, and hit enter, it turns red. Now what's really cool is I have a built-in automatic statement that's going to be generated anytime the student's average falls in a specific range. This is called an Ifs function. So watch what happens if the student gets another failing grade, and let's say the student got a 50. So their average is a 59. These top 3 cells are red, and now they've been changed to developing. So if you double click on that cell, it'll show you the formula that I used. And it basically lets me set parameters or criteria for each numerical level and say if their average is below 70, please say that it's developing. I then also put a conditional rule on it that if it says developing, turn red. Same thing, if they're below an 89.9, then they're on track. And if it says on track, turn orange. Same thing with 90. If they're 90 and above, it says they're excelling, and I had it turn green. So that's something I'm going to showcase in the tutorials, how to do Ifs functions. That's really neat. So if something is entered in the cell and you want something to auto-generate next to it or somewhere else in your sheet, it will do that for you. The next thing I'm going to show you is some basic math. You can always use math formulas inside the cells to do calculations or whatever you needed to calculate. Another thing I'm going to show you is called data validation, where you can create custom drop-down menus like you see here. So this student right here is developing and they're not passing. So either we need to schedule tutoring or we need a parent conference. I can just click on the custom menu and go from what's in the menu for me. Now this is nice when you have people collaborating or other people using this sheet and you don't want them to put different phrases or different words because you have a custom built menu that they can select from. Same thing for yourself if you don't want to keep typing the same thing over and over again. All right, this one is Countif, and I'm going to show how you can specifically count anything in your sheet with parameters or criteria. So what if I want to know the number of students that have 100? And note it says 6. So if I come over here to my range, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Watch if I make this 60 100 and hit enter. Now it says 7. And the way that that is done is you use a Countif function, and you can see it right here. I will go into more detail about that in a separate video, but I did that basically for all these different criteria that were set, and I can get all the numbers I want on that criteria. Then I use something called a Countifs, which actually takes Countif and adds another priority to it, or another criteria to it. What if I want to know the number of students in first period that have below a 70? And it says there are 2. So this is a Countifs, and it lets me basically go into a specific set of range, find a group of students or a student, and then go into another range and go and find out stuff about that student and how they performed in that range. So it's a real powerful tool in a data sheet to kind of go in there and find this information out. The next thing I'm going to show is VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP has helped me out in many situations with Google Sheets and Excel. VLOOKUP will let you find a student on the sheet or in another sheet attached at the bottom and have something put into that cell that is for that student. So for example, I'm using student 3, and what if I wanted the test 1 score for student example 3 to pop in this cell right here? So you'll see it says look up that student name in a range and find their score in there. So this could be, for example, if you were doing demographic data and I wanted to look up how Hispanic or African American or white or Asian or multicultural students were performing, and I wanted to go find all their test scores and get the averages, I can easily do that with VLOOKUP. So I've used this one many times. Also, VLOOKUP is a great way to take other data and attach it to the students in a sheet. So I'll go over all the uses of VLOOKUP in that tutorial with you. Again, another way to use Countif with using some basic math is a way for you to get the percent of passing students in the class. Now, scrolling down, I'm going to show you how to do your own custom graphs, and I'm using VLOOKUP right now, and I'm using a conditional formatting so that I can select students in my class and see exactly how they're doing and break down analytically how they're performing with bar graphs. So I can get a visual graph of how they're performing. So that's kind of the brief overview of what I'm going to show with Google Sheets. Please keep in mind that there is a plethora of tools within Sheets and Excel, and it's very difficult to make an all-encompassing guide. But I found these to be very powerful tools, functions, and formulas, and I hope that they're helpful for you and help you with what you're doing in your educational position. Thank you so much for watching this brief overview video.